Happy New Year, everyone. Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Welcome back. I hope that you are all doing well. This is where I talk about the books I'm reading. I like to read diverse books and I highlight Canadian literature. If you are new, thank you so much for checking out my channel. Please hit subscribe and stick around. I have my hot chocolate ready for this one. So today I am going to be talking about 25 of my most anticipated books that are being released from January 2025 to the end of May 2025. It was originally June, but some of the books have had a change in publication. So those dates changed, so it ended up only being May. So I'm going to share these books in publication order, which is what they were at the time of filming. As we know, things can still change, so always best to check with the publishers. Plus these are the Canadian and or the US publication dates, so some of these books might actually already be out in some other countries. Okay, there are so many books coming out in 2025 that I am really excited. I'm really looking forward to. I think there was originally 30 or 35 books on my list, but I have narrowed it down to 25 so that we are not here forever, and I figured it's 2025, so let's go with it. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'll just give a quick synopsis and maybe say why I'm excited about the book. Most of these are authors that I've read before, but there are some debuts and some new to me authors as well. So let's get started. All right. Starting on January the 7th, there is a debut novel being released, and it's called The Life Cycle of the Common Octopus. This is by Emma Knight. I don't know what it is about octopus, but they seem to be a very hot topic for books, and they seem to be successful. This one is a love story. It's about female friendship, which you guys know I love. It's also about motherhood, and there's a bit of a mystery. So I'm intrigued. Also being published on January 7th is The Stolen Queen by Fiona Davis, whose books are all set in New York, which, if you know me, you know that first of all I love New York, and I really enjoy books set in New York. And this one has a dual timeline. One of the timelines is set in 1936, the second in New York in 1978. So Fiona Davis's books usually, or always maybe, focus on something very specific to do with New York. And this story looks at the famous Met Gala. On January the 14th is a book by one of my auto-buy authors. I cannot wait for this. It's called More or Less Maddy by Lisa Genova. And I've read everything that Lisa Genova has written, and some of her books are my favorite books of all time. This book follows Maddy Banks, who is a freshman at NYU, and she is diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And I have a feeling that this book is going to rip my heart out. Also on January 14th is Frankie by Graham Norton. Now, I've watched the Graham Norton show, which I love, but I've never read any of Graham Norton's books. So I'm really interested in this one for a couple of reasons. It has a female protagonist, and I'm always curious about how men write women characters, especially as a main character. It also has a bit of a Seven Husbands for Evelyn Hugo vibe, to me anyway, just from the description. Frankie is telling some of her life story, and so I have really high hopes for this one. We'll see. Next up on January 21st is an author that I've never read, but have always been curious about. And this book is called We Do Not Part by Han Kang. Han Kang is the author of The Vegetarian and other books, which I've heard a lot about. We Do Not Part is translated from the Korean by Yaewon and Paige Aniyah Morris. So this is also about female friendship, And one of the friends is in the hospital, and she asks the other friend to take care of her pet bird. So as the friend is caring for this bird, she finds out some of the darkness in her friend's past. Sounds interesting to me. The next book is being published on January the 28th, and it's called Elseship by Tree Abraham. Tree Abraham is the author of Cyclets, which I have. I've talked about it on my channel before. This is a story about friendship and unrequited love, and it's a memoir about when the author fell in love with her housemate, and the housemate didn't reciprocate the same feelings. So this didn't end the friendship, so we'll see how that goes. And like Cyclets, this book sounds like it includes different mediums, like illustrations and photos and things like that. So I'm looking forward to it. Moving on to books released in February. On February the 4th is another memoir, Memorial Days by Geraldine Brooks. Now, I've only read one book by Geraldine Brooks many, many years ago. It's 9 Parts of Desire. And that book has always stayed with me, and I've always wanted to read more of her work. Several of her books are they're on my shelf, sitting there, waiting. They're ready to go. And this memoir is about how Geraldine grieved after her husband died at 60 years old on Memorial Day. And that was in 2019. So as many of you know, this is a topic that I am very interested in, and how authors handle it. And I have a feeling that Geraldine Brooks will have some profound things to bring to the table. Also on February 4th is a book that Geraldine Brooks actually blurbed. It's called Black Woods, Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivey, who is the author of The Snow Child, which I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the feel of that book. And this story takes place in Alaska. It's about a woman named Birdie who is a single mother, and she falls in love with Arthur, who is someone that most people avoid. But Birdie sees something in him that I guess others don't, and she and her daughter move to his isolated cabin in the mountains. So at first, it's a happily ever after fairy tale type story until Birdie realizes that there is something much more mysterious and dangerous about Arthur. So this one, it definitely has my attention. Another book that is being released on February the 4th is A Love Song for Ricki Wilde. This is by Tia Williams. And I read 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, and I really enjoyed it. So I hope that that's true for this one as well. This is being described as a modern day fairy tale. So Ricki Wilde, who is the main protagonist, doesn't fit in with her family, and she moves to Harlem to open a flower shop, and there she meets a musician, and they share a soulmate connection. So we'll see how that one goes. On February 18th is another debut novel. This one is called Nesting, and it's by an Irish author named Roisin O'Donnell. This is about either Kiera or Sierra Faye, who makes the decision to leave her marriage, which looks perfect on the surface. But there is gaslighting and emotional abuse, and it's just not good for them and for her little girls. So she wonders if it was the right thing to do to leave, since now they don't have a stable home, and there's other things that come up. So I think that this has a potential to be a really intense psychological read and a look at abuse in this way. Next up is another nonfiction. On February 25th, One Day Everyone Will Have Been Against This. This is by Omar Akkad. This book is inspired by a tweet that Omar Akkad put out on October 25th, which was 3 weeks after the bombardment of Gaza. So the tweet said this: "One day when it's safe, when there's no personal downside to calling a thing what it is, when it's too late to hold anyone accountable, everyone will have always been against this." So this tweet was viewed over 10 million times. And this book is a reckoning with what it means to live in the West and what it means to live in a world run by a small group of countries. It draws on Omar's own story as an immigrant who grew up believing in the Western project and who was catapulted into journalism by the rupture of 9/11. So this book is his heartsick breakup letter with the West, and it says that it is a breakup that we are watching all over the US. It says that this is a book that is for everyone who wants something better than what is going on right now, and that it's a book for our time. So I think that this is a book that has something to say for sure. Okay, moving on to March. I only have a couple in March, it looks like. On March 4th, Dream Count by Chimamanda Ngozie Adichie. This book follows 4 women, I think all Nigerian women. I didn't write it down, but I think so. It is about their choices and regrets, their hardships, and whether, they will ever achieve their goals and their dreams. So I've always really appreciated Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's writing. I think she has some beautiful writing. So I really look forward to checking this one out. Another auto-buy author for me on March 18th is The Paris Express by Emma Donoghue. Who doesn't love a book set on a train? This is based on an 1895 disaster that went down in history when it was captured in a series of very surreal photographs. I will put a picture up of what it is that it looked like, what I'm talking about here. Emma Donoghue has brought many interesting stories to life through her historical fiction novels, and usually with some very unique and intriguing characters. So I'm really looking forward to this one and seeing how she brings all of this together. Okay, so now we're in April. On April 1st, an author that has quickly become an auto-buy author for me, and that is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jiminez. So this follows Xavier Rush and Samantha, who have something between them. And what I like about Abby Jiminez and about her books are that they may be romance books, which is fine, but the characters feel very real. And she brings in some really important topics. And with this one, it seems that dementia is one of those topics. So I have read all of Abby Jiminez's books, so I was waiting for her next one, so I'm really excited to be able to read another one soon. Sticking with the romance category, also on April 1st is Swept Away by Beth O'Leary. This is about 2 strangers who find themselves stranded at sea together. Zeke and Lexi have a one-night stand on a houseboat that no one tied to the dock. So when they wake up, they are literally in the middle of the water and have to figure out, how to get home. This just sounds like, it might be a fun, comical book. So I'm really hoping for some laugh out loud moments with this one. On April 8th is The Maid's Secret by Nita Prose, which is the final book in the Molly the Maid series. So this book includes a film crew shooting a reality TV show at the hotel. There's an art heist, and Molly's life is threatened. So I'm interested in how this series will wrap up. I think we can expect a happy ending, probably with some shenanigans thrown in. Also on April 8th is The Beauty of the End by Lauren Stienstra. I believe this is a debut as well. That might not be true, but I think so. It is speculative fiction, and it's about twin sisters. They are 8 years old, when a scientific discovery upends their world and the whole world order. And it turns out that extinction is encoded in every creature's DNA. So the expiration date for humans is only 4 generations away. And this is the story of how each of the sisters deals with this information, the sacrifices that they make, and how they can find hope for all of humankind. So that one sounds good to me. On April the 15th is a book that I have been waiting for since I read the first book. The first book was Midnight at the Bright Ideas Bookstore, and this is the follow-up, and it's called Midnight in Soap Lake. It's by Matthew J. Sullivan. This is about a lake with mysterious properties. A town is haunted by an urban legend, and 2 women whose lives intersect in very terrifying ways. Now, I absolutely loved the first book, and you may remember, if you've been watching my channel for a while, I talked about literary one-hit wonders not too long ago, and I talked about waiting for so long for another book from this author. So I will leave a link to that video below, you can check it out. But there's supposed to be some quirky characters in this. You know, I love when there's quirky characters. And I'm very, very excited to finally get to read more from this author. Also, April 15th is 6 Days in Bombay by Alka Joshi. I've read 2 books from Alka Joshi's, what is it? Her series. She has a series. And I love her descriptions of India. This story moves around to several countries and revolves around a painter's mysterious death. And the person who was caring for the painter is under suspicion. But the painter has left the caregiver a note, which is kind of a catalyst that sends her on a journey. So this isn't part of the series. I believe this is a standalone for right now. On April 22nd, we're going back to the romance category with Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I've been hit and miss with Emily Henry. I've loved some, I've not so liked some others, but I've had a few people tell me that this one is good and worth checking out. This is about 2 writers, Alice and Hayden, who are competing for the chance to write the biography of a woman who no one has seen in years. Margaret Ives is giving them both a 1-month trial period. And then after this month, she'll choose the person who will tell her story. So there are rules on what she tells them, and they can't swap stories. So this could be good, I would say, depending on how the execution all plays out. I'm hoping that it will be an enjoyable read. Of course, I'm hoping they'll all be enjoyable reads. On April 29th, The Boy from the Sea by Irish author Garrett Carr. So this begins in 1973 when a baby is found abandoned on a beach, and a fisherman finds him and basically adopts him into his family, and the whole town is very captivated by this boy. The fisherman's wife, loves him, also worries for him, and then they already have a son, and that starts a lifelong rivalry for that son. And even though the fisherman brings the boy into his home out of love, it really is a decision that will fracture his family, and it forces him to try to understand himself and those that he cares for. So this is a new to me author, but I'm really interested in seeing what this story is about and where it goes. So I'm hoping that this might even be an introduction to a new favorite author for me. Speaking of favorite authors, as we move into May, I have another auto-buy author on May 6th. River is Waiting by Wally Lamb. I have read everything by Wally Lamb. Those of you who've been watching me for a while know I love Wally Lamb. I cannot wait to get my hands on this book. This is about Corby Ledbetter, who is a struggling new father. And Corby causes some kind of tragedy, and he is sentenced to prison. And while he's in prison, he witnesses acts of brutality, but he also experiences small acts of kindness. There's a prison librarian, so you know there's going to be some book love in this. Corby hopes that he can be forgiven by those that he loves. So it sounds like a good story to me, and really any story by Wally Lamb, like, it's in good hands, you know, so my hopes for this are very, very high. No pressure to Wally Lamb on that. Next, on May 6th, is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune, who is a Canadian writer known for writing summer romances. And this follows the story of Alice, who is a photographer. And she helps her grandmother after the grandmother has a fall. And they go back to this cottage where they spent time when Alice was much younger, a teenager. And they are reminded of the magic of that summer. So Alice was 17 and a boy named Charlie was 19. So they go back to that summer. So this sounds like just a good summer read to me when I want some, you know, beach, or in this case, probably some lake vibes. Also on May 6th is The Book of Records by Madeleine Tien. I am currently reading Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Madeleine Tien, and The Book of Records is talked about, it's mentioned, it's part of that story. So I am very interested in this. Lena's the main character, and she's caring for her father in a building complex that they call the Sea. A lot of migrants are from all over the world are there, and Lena has a three-volume series about the lives of famous voyagers. And these are her prized possessions because they couldn't take much with them. And eventually Lena befriends 3 of the neighbors, and she spends, you know, countless hours listening to their fascinating tales. And then when Lena is finally told her father's account of how the 2 of them ended up at this place that I said was called the Sea, that is when she understands the unbearable cost of betrayal in her own life and in her own past. So I have a feeling that this will be an intense read as well. I'm really glad that I will have had the opportunity to read it shortly after I finish Do Not Say We Have Nothing, because I think that there will be some links between the two. And then the last book on my list, my most anticipated list, is coming on May the 20th from another auto-buy author for me, and it is called My Friends by Frederick Backman. This is a story about friendship and art. It is about 4 teenagers who spend a summer by the water, and one of the most famous paintings in the world come from that summer. So for most people, they see this painting, they think the painting is of the sea, which of course it is, but some know that there is a story of the 3 figures at the end of the pier in the picture as well. So 25 years after the painting, Louisa, who is an inspiring artist, is given this painting, and she embarks on a journey to learn how the painting came to be. I love Backman's writing. I love his humor. I love his books, that are even more serious. But I think this book may have both the humor and the seriousness. Either way, I can't wait to see what it's all about. So these are 25 of my most anticipated books coming out in the first half of 2025. Please let me know if any of these interest you, or if there are other books that you are you're most excited for in 2025. Here's to another year of good books and reading. I hope it's a good reading year for all of us. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.